Worked in the side of medicine where you treated the patients on long term. Always been a pretty healthy person in my life and so forth, but about 15 years ago that started changing. I started coming down with arthritis. My shoulders hurt. And it got to the point where I couldn't lift my arms. Wake up in the morning and these three fingers would be locked down and I'd have to get into water, hot water, and just pull my fingers loose.
Wow.
Started into cardiovascular problems, blood pressure all over the place, triglycerides, cholesterol, bang, bang, boom. Well, I had no insurance. I had the VA, so I went to those doctors I worked with for 12. Didn't work with them, but I had worked in medicine for 12 years. And they started writing prescriptions. Folks, in 3.5 years, they went through 32 drugs with me.
Wow.
In 3.5 years. The only answer they had was, let's change the prescription, let's change the doses, let's do this and that. I never heard the word cure in any condition I had for 3.5 years. Then I started having blood in my bowel movements. I said, something more is going on here. I didn't want to go to an oncologist and find at the VA and find it on insurance and records and all that. So I found an oncologist down in East Point. Man's 82 years old. I went down there and told him, I said, listen, I don't want any records about this, but I need a colonoscopy. He said, okay. And I'm watching the monitor as he's doing this. And when he got in there, I said, that don't look that great to me. He said, no, you got some very sketchy polyps there. You got quite a few, but there's a few here I'm going to biopsy, and I'll know something in about 3 days. Well, that C word came up, folks. I had colon cancer. And I said, well, what is the method today? I said, my mother died of cancer. My uncle died of one of the rarest cancers ever known to man. All this. What is the treatment today for cancer? And he started talking about the surgeries and the chemo and the radiation and all the nuclear medicine and all that. I said, whoa. I said, I'm not going to carpet bomb my body and kill all the good stuff along with the bad.
Go ahead.
I know better than that. Because it's like putting a B-52 bomber in your body and saying, let's wipe it, let's just take that immune system and kick its ass, and let's just, wait a minute. I said, you know what? Me and God are going to get on the internet, go to wellness school. Folks, in 12 years of all the things I learned about how to save people's life, I'd been taught and learned almost nothing about what it means to maintain your life, maintain your health. What does God have in His basket that says, try this? Folks, our system of food today has been destroyed. The soil in this country is acidic. It's not alkaline anymore. 80% of the nutrition in your food you're consuming today isn't there anymore. They've re-engineered things. They put chemicals and dyes and stabilizers and all this stuff. Why? Because we have a world market today. They need that tomato and this, that, and the other to put it in the hull of a ship at 140 degrees, pack it in a pressurized container, whatever, send it halfway around the world, and have it sit on the shelf for a couple of weeks or two. It'll look pretty good. You ain't get much. God's nutrition has been changed, destroyed, manipulated, misused, and everything else. Okay? So I got on the internet and I started researching. I said, I know I need to detoxify my body. Folks, I learned some things that scared the dickens out of me. In 2 weeks' time, 2003, the CDC, Center for Disease Control here in Atlanta, put 10,000 autopsies of dead Americans in their computers, from a 4-year-old child to a 102-year-old man. One of the reports they asked for was, show us all of the toxins, agricultural chemicals, how much crap we spray on our food, drugs, heavy metals, chemicals. Okay? An average of $292 billion in lawsuits are won in this country every year suing drug companies. $180 billion a year is won in lawsuits against local companies. They found a report, it spit out a report that said an average in those 10,000 bodies was 116 different toxins in those bodies. People over 65 years old, some of them had a chemical in their body still in their body that the United States has not been allowed to ship in this country in 44 years are still found in some of the ground, soil, and water in this body, and they're in here. Detoxification. We've become toxic nightmares. And we've created this ourselves. Okay? We have created this nightmare ourselves. So I said, well, the first staple of life is oxygen. I got to look at that first. I found a lot of oxygen drops out here and so forth, but the research I found, none of them did what Dr. Stephen Krause's stabilized oxygen drops did. Actually produce oxygen in your cellular level for hours at a time. Never read that anywhere. Well, this is crazy. Really? It does that? Then I saw some research showing it under microscopes how your cells are like little inner tubes floating around. And when they get toxic and get all this garbage on them, they start attaching to each other. They get gummy and things start attaching to them. Then they can't absorb the oxygen and this, that, and the other they're supposed to have. In literally a matter of minutes with the stabilized oxygen, folks, they're cleaning up and they're separating and they're separated and they're floating properly and all this stuff. When you get a headache, the basic thing that acetaminophen or whatever you're taking is, what it's doing is a vasodilator. It's just supplying more blood and oxygen to the area, right, to relieve the pain. That's all. It's a chemical that does that. So I started taking that oxygen. Now, I'm not going to go into some, I've changed some of my diet, did a few other natural whole foods things. But the oxygen was amazing. In about a 3-week time, I had not heard anything much out of this ear in 2 years. It was just like somebody stuck a finger in my ear. Now, my father went deaf for months in the left ear. And I thought, I've never had mumps. Am I going deaf like my father in the left ear? And I went to the VA, and they did this, and they poured stuff, and I even went to the candle thing. And, you know, I've got a telephone in my bathroom. It's about 3 weeks after taking the oxygen, the phone rang, and I had the washcloth in his hand full of soap. And I went, oh, God, that might be Andy. I was waiting for a phone call from him, and I just did this. And I went, hey, I'm in the shower. Yeah, okay, Andy. Yeah, I know it's you. Okay, well, and I said, wait a minute. Is that you, Andy? He said, yes. He said, can't you hear me? I said, that's it, I can hear you in my damn left ear. What happened? I don't know what happened, but some kind of garbage in there got cleaned out. Folks, in 6 months' time, I had no cardiovascular problems. I had gained 100 pounds. I had had reactions twice. Once put me in the emergency room from drug interaction. I was losing weight. I was lifting my arms. I turned 70 a week ago. Praise God, I found the nutritional product that is the foundation of life.
Yes.
Every metabolic process in your body, folks, oxygen is